I'd like to call this Tuesday, December 8th, 2020 regular meeting of the Hendry County School Board to order. If so inclined, please stand and join us in an invocation and pledge. Our Father,
Lord of heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thank you. At this time, Superintendent, do we have any recognitions?
We do have a recognition for Miss Doris Johnson. Is Miss Johnson with us tonight by any chance? I don't see Miss Johnson. Miss Johnson was a paraprofessional at Clewiston Middle School, and we would like to let her know how much we appreciate her 9 years of faithful service to Hendry County. So if anybody knows her, we'll make sure we get the plaque to her and make sure we absolutely let her know that we appreciate her time and service to Hendry County. Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
We'll give you a gift to her.
She already has it, sir.
Yeah. Oh, well, all righty then. We'll have an extra. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Superintendent. Did you receive any citizen comment on agenda items?
I have not.
Okay, thank you. Moving forward to the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that any member of the board would like to have removed and placed under action items? Okay, seeing no indications on that. Superintendent, do I have a recommendation for the consent agenda?
I recommend approval of the consent agenda.
Have a okay, we have a second. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda passes unanimously. Moving forward to action items. Action item A, new personnel allocation request. Superintendent, do I have a recommendation?
I recommend approval of the new personnel allocation request.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? New personnel allocation request passes unanimously. Action item B, ratification of the 2020 through 2023 Hendry County Education Association Collective Bargaining Agreement. We have our HCEA president with us, Ms. Stitt. Would you like to share anything with us, any comments?
Sure. So ratification ended today at 3:30. We received electronic waiver from HERT, who is a state agency that oversees elections, to do it virtually due to COVID. We had a 91.7 ratification vote, so that's 91.7 yes, 9.3% no. So the contract is ratified on the teacher's end. And I will say, just about the process, you know, anything in 2020 is kind of unique, right? The year of the COVID. We also started the contract negotiations with the former superintendent and finished the contract negotiations with the new superintendent, so that's a little bit unusual for us. But it was great. We were able to do language prior to Mr. Spindle's arrival and then really work on the task of money, which is always the most arduous task when we negotiate a contract. The teachers are very cognizant of the unique circumstances we find ourselves in 2020. The uniqueness of how it's affected our schools, how it's affected our everyday lives, and the effect it's had on the Florida economy, right, and the economy of the nation as a whole. So we understand a very difficult situation for the board to look at money in a contract with a plan from the state that was unusual is being kind of how the money would be divvied up when it came out, because it would build some issues on different years of experience. But I feel like the agreement that we worked out really recognizes the efforts of the Hendry County teachers, and shows appreciation in a very dark time for what we're doing. And teachers are working in a way that none of us could have imagined a year ago. And we're working hard, we're tired, we're very tired, but we will keep working on benefit, for the benefit of the kids, and we appreciate the board seeing what we're doing, seeing our sacrifices, seeing our work ethic, and doing what you can on your end to support that, and we are greatly appreciative.
Thank you, Ms. Stitt. Superintendent, do I have a recommendation on action item B?
I'd like to give you a recommendation, but first I would like to just reiterate what Ms. Stitt said, and my perspective, this is my first go-around with the negotiation as well. I thought that it was a great process. I thought we had great professional engagement from our negotiating team as well as HCEA. HCA is well represented with some great people who obviously care about education, and obviously that's the reason we're here and having the negotiation start with. If anything, Ms. Stitt undersold the hard work that our teachers are doing and have been doing, and it's a phenomenal task that they have undertaken. And you know what? They're meeting the challenge. They're doing it. They're getting it done. And so as I go around, I've been trying to get to as many faculty meetings as I can over this week and next, and that's just what I'm letting them know, that we see it, we appreciate it, we love them, and it's greatly appreciated. So as a board, the negotiation that we did upon your behalf is a my message to them is nowhere near what they're worth, but it's what we feel like we can comfortably and financially soundly do at this point in time to show our appreciation for the hard work that they do every day for the young men and women that walk in those classrooms.
I'd like to make a motion, we accept the collective bargaining agreement with HCEA.
Let me make the recommendation first.
I'm
and then
sorry.
Okay, sorry, I was going on a little long there. So therefore, I recommend that we accept the ratification of the 2020-2023 Hendry County Education Association Collective Bargaining Agreement.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. Singer Knight, and a second. Any further discussion? I just want to pipe up and just say thank you, HCA and all your membership, for all you do in our campuses and outside of our campuses, and for being patient with this process. And we really appreciate you, and just want to say thank you. And any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Action item B, ratification of the Hendry HCEA collective bargaining agreement, passes unanimously. Okay, action item C, ratification of the 2020 through 2023 Hendry Educational Support Personnel Association collective bargaining agreement. And with us tonight, we also have Richard West, who is our president of HESPA, and I would like to invite you to make comments or.
Thank you. Just on behalf of HESPA, we want to thank the board. We know it's a difficult time of year. It's been very difficult, medically and financially. We understand that. But our support staff does work harder, and we will continue to do so. And we just thank you very much for what you've done. We really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mr. West.
And I would like to say the same, sort of the same sentiments, except for I would like to add the twist of, there's no one not important. Obviously, the teachers, carry out a very important task. Well, if we can't get the kids to school, if the schools aren't cleaned, and all those things that go around the wrap services that make our schools what they are is very important. And I'd just like to make sure that HESPA and everyone involved knows how much we appreciate them, and we couldn't do it without them as well. And so we're glad to do a little bit that we can do to support them as well. It was a great process. I believe the HESPA team, as well as our team that was represented there, again, had just a great, open, professional conversation, and I look forward to engaging earlier and finishing earlier next year for both organizations. So with that in mind, Madam Chairman, I recommend acceptance of the ratification of the 2023 Hendry Educational Support Personnel Association Collective Bargaining Agreement.
recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. West, I'd just like to echo what I said about HCA as far as being patient with us and, making sure that we were in a place where we could comfortably and sustainably give our HESPA personnel a much-needed pay increase. And so thank you for working with us on that, and we appreciate that. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Action item C, ratification of the HESPA collective bargaining agreement, passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Mr. West, what was your ratification percent?
I did not get anything yet.
Okay, just curious. I love the data instead. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to add something that since we're all in this together, as Mr. Swindle has said many times, HCA just offered grants of almost $500 per school site in Hendry County. Half of that money will go to student families in need for the holidays, and the other half will go to our support staff and our teacher staff and our administrative staff as a thank you for their hard work. So we'll get them some kind of treat, some kind of sugared powdered food
Nice.
before the day. But we wanted to, because we're all in it together, so we wanted to give back at that time too, because COVID's been hard on everybody. So
Awesome.
Very kind gesture. Thank you.
Madam Chair, the HESPA voting was 99%.
99%, wow.
Thank you, Mr. Seeley. Now we're going to move forward to action item D, to 2020-21 administrative support, and non-instructional, non-bargaining salary schedules. Superintendent, do I have your recommendation?
I recommend approval of the 2021 administrative support, and non-instructional, non-bargaining salary schedule.
Have a recommendation, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Action item D passes unanimously. Sorry, we're all giddy with ratification here. Action item E, release of committed funds. Superintendent, may I have your recommendation?
I recommend approval of the release of the committed funds.
I have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Action item E, the release of committed funds, passes unanimously. Okay, moving forward to board member business. Permission to advertise proposed revisions to policies 6114 and 6325. Superintendent, may I have your recommendation?
I recommend approval of action item A, permission to advertise proposed revisions to policy 6114 and 6325.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item A, permission to advertise proposed revisions to policy 6114 and 6325, passed unanimously. Board member business item B, 2020-21 Small School District Consortium, Council Consortium, SSDCC, membership dues and approval of resolution. Superintendent, may I have your recommendation?
I recommend approval of action item B, 2021 Small School District Council Consortium, membership dues and approval of the resolution.
Have a recommendation, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Or is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item B, SSDCC membership dues and approval of resolution, passes unanimously.
That's right, we need a board, that's a good point, I'm sorry I missed that. We we do need a board member to represent Hendry County on the board for the SSDC.
Sally did it last year.
Sally did it last.
Sally did it.
Yes.
Where is this?
So it,
It's mostly, at this point, communication via email, and typically when we go to the FSBA conference, they have breakout meetings there in person, but that just didn't happen this year.
That sounds like a learning curve, doesn't it?
I think you should just jump in.
I'll volunteer for that.
All right, I nominate Mr. Samerdine.
I second that nomination.
and a pat on the back for every breath.
All right, we have a nomination and a second. Any other nominations? All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And Mr. Sammerlake unanimously was voted our SSDCC membership appointee. So we like it.
Congratulations.
We like it, Mr. Sammerlake, we like it. Okay, moving forward, we're at discussion on our legislative platform. I sent you guys an email from the SSDCC with their proposed legislative platform. I think it really encompasses a lot of, well, like 99.9% of their legislative platforms are issues that touch our school district. I didn't know if there was any further concerns.
I can, if you don't mind. So Friday evening at 4 o'clock, we'll be addressing our legislative delegation. Everyone's welcome to be there. The points that I intend to make are going to be the association has already worked with the state legislator to predetermine the FTE calculation, so we don't really need to get too far into the weeds with that. That's kind of a moot point at this point in time. However, there are some points, and most of them are outlined in there. I don't feel comfortable taking that form or going in there with exact bullet points in that form. However, some of the ones that we do have are exactly, they're listed in there. It's going to be funding for specifically the digital classroom. That was a large funding model that was kind of a get us started, but now it's dried up and gone away. But in the meanwhile, a lot of the devices that were purchased aren't timing out, and we have no funding stream to replenish those. And so if we're going to remain a one-to-one district, we're going to have that funding stream to make that happen. So that's going to be one of the laser focuses that we have. We've got a couple of others in there. Mental health obviously is something that we continually struggle with. We know that Senator Pasadomo, that's one of her personal projects, and so we want to make sure that she knows that we're on board with that as well, and that we are aggressively pursuing opportunities and options that we can have here in Hendry County for that along the same line. So there's a few others that are going to be very closely related and closely knit to those as we go forward. But that's going to be somewhat the shell of the platform to kind of restore the platform, to restore the funding platforms, and to protect our funding platforms, show them our appreciation and love for doing what they can to keep an eye and a protective eye over the rural districts and the things that are special and unique to us. Any questions or for things you would like to have added or seen there, feel free to, you can let me know now or
I'd like to join you.
Please do, we want you there. Yes, sir, absolutely.
It's a good learning experience.
Okay?
All right, do you have anything, Ms. Nelson?
I do not.
All right, and then we're going to move forward on a discussion on the mission statement. So this is Mr. Swindle's, Superintendent Swindle's initiative, so.
Well, I would like for it to be our initiative, you know, and we broached the subject last meeting, and since last meeting, we've had some conversation, and I believe everybody's on board with it happening and making sure that it comes to fruition. Along with a mission statement, we basically have pieces and parts in a very fragmented strategic plan. those two guiding documents, as I stated at the previous meeting, those should be the guiding documents that we use. We're like a rudderless ship without it, in my mind. Every decision we make, no matter if it's negotiating with the unions that represent the folks that make our business happen every day, or the computers that we buy, we need to make sure that we temper our decisions based upon the direction of our mission and our strategic plan. So it's very important in my mind that we have one that's updated, that fits the mold of what this board wants to see for improved educational student achievement in Hendry County and how we want to conduct business. Along those lines, I was assigned a mentor superintendent from Okeechobee. Just so happens we were both agriculture teachers and have known him for several years, and so it's off to a good start. They, as we speak, are in the middle of going through updating their strategic plan, and they hired a consultant in to do a lot of the legwork, to do a lot of the focus groups, to do a lot of the things that are tasky. We can and probably will wind up doing a lot of it ourselves, but it may be a good opportunity for us to use a professional as a guiding stone to make sure that we arrive at a very professional, very detailed, very pointed strategic plan and mission statement as we go forward. With your permission, I'm not willing at this point in time to stroke any checks, but I would like to at least get some pricing and to see what the scope looks like, to see what we can do ourselves, and bring that back to you with some options.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
you read my mind, because that was what my question was going to be, is what are we talking about funding wise?
Right.
And what's it going to cost us? I mean, we just spent a bunch of money on some very well-deserved people.
Yep.
Which, you know, that's a great thing to spend money on, so I just wanted to find out. I'm okay checking,
Yep.
price checking. Let's see where we're at before we
Agreed.
pull that trigger.
Won't spend a dime until you have it in front of you and you approve.
So that was a concern in conversations. I know that, you know, we're facing some financially perilous water ahead of us. And so this fits the mold, a strategic plan, fits the mold of the things that the Hendry Education Task Force wants to fund for our district. And Reverend Brown, you came to one of our fundraisers, and so we.
Costly, but what?
But this is, you know, they don't want to get their fingers in the daily operations, but what the task force can do is provide, and I've talked to everybody in that executive board, and they are absolutely on board to help stroke that check and make this happen so we can have those guiding documents and it wouldn't be anything out of our pockets. So they're wanting to help us out there if that's the help that we want from them. So doing it right, we don't want it to the money to be a deterrent.
Sure. Well, that's great. That's awesome.
And I think that it's going to be powerful. I know that as we're going forward, we really need to solidify on, you know, where we're at and where we want to go, and stay laser focused on our goals, because I know going forward we're going to be pulled in a lot of different directions, and we're going to want to say yes to everything. And this is really going to help us, you know, be that guiding document for us. And, you know, having the task force behind it and the community support, I mean, I think that speaks highly to how excited the community is about the direction the board's going.
Sounds good.
We'll get to work on some pricing and some shells and some opportunities and get back to you hopefully at the first meeting in January. Okay. All good?
Great, thank you.
Right, that's good. Board member item E is a FYI financial statement. It doesn't require any action. So we'll go down. Yes, sir.
Can we have just a brief run through, because I know not everybody may not understand these financial statements. Can we have Ms. McCarty just kind of run through it so that people who are watching online may actually kind of understand a little bit? We'll make sure everybody understands where we're at with everything.
Just give us a briefing of
Just
the.
kind of walk us through it.
Absolutely. Would it be okay if I stood up here?
Please do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good evening. I present as part of the monthly financial reports. The initial goal is to present you basically with where we are with fund balance, and that's what you're going to get with the first page. The first page gives you a month-by-month trend simply for the general fund of your revenues and expenditures. So it starts up with the budget as adopted. That's your very first column with the fund balance, revenues and expenditures, and free cash flow from operations. As a reminder, this year when we did the budget, we budgeted with a negative, nearly $1 million deficit fund cash flow from operations, and that's what this shows. But then we go into the July column. July column simply shows the revenues and expenditures earned for the month. And we do this every month, kind of to give everybody a trend of where we are. It's a completely brief overview. The year to date, that final column simply summarizes the month by months. Is that so?
So before you take off that page, Mr. Riccardi, can you help us understand too the correlation between, on the top left, you say that we're 33% through the school year, correct?
Yes.
And over on the far right, the percent of our annual budget is 27 and then 24% respectively. So,
Actually, 33% is through the fiscal year, not the through the fiscal year.
okay,
And when we say percent of the annual budget, that simply means year to date, we have received 27% of the revenue and expended 24% of the expenditures.
My simple mathematical mind looks at that and says that means we're doing probably pretty good then with regards to what we're spending, what we're taking in.
That is
Okay.
my simple mind does that the same way. That's why we put the percentages out there, because as a brief overview, if all of a sudden your expenditures were at 75% and you're only 40% through the year,
Yeah.
that would be an alarming issue. So you do want to see your expenditures below that.
Okay.
So the second page of this little package that we give you is by location. Although we don't really, we don't often talk about the locations. What we try to do in this thing, again, it shows the expenditures 33% through the year at the top. The first column on the left is a comparison of where we were exactly at this point last year. That is, and I'll pick on LaBelle Middle. At that point through October, they'd spent $1.1 million. The next column is the adopted budget for the entire LaBelle Middle School, or in that case, it's looking at the first row. Year-to-date spent, the percent spent, and then compared to the prior year. Now, the percent spent, you'll see, and again, we're going to keep on picking on that first line. LaBelle Middle School will probably get tired of us always picking on that, but that's what they get for having that low number, always being at the top. Percent spent is 28%. Compared to last year, it's 12.4% higher. So you can see the 1.3 year-to-date spent this year is greater than 1.15 the prior year. I've got a great explanation for that for those of you who count your pay periods. It's because last year at this time, we had one fewer pay period. In October, this month, of this period, we had 3 pay periods. So obviously the number of pay period affects you. Last year, we only had the 2 in October. That'll catch itself up in the November report. So that's kind of a brief what you're looking at, location by location all the way down. What I look for is I go to that percent. When I'm reviewing this, I look at the percent spent, and I want to see, is there any abnormalities? Is there anything that looks out of place? For example, I look down and I say school board attorney. Why is that only at 8.24%? That seems really low, right? Well, I can tell you right off without even thinking about it. I know everybody around here, that's K-12. We've not paid the K-12 payment. K-12 is our $9 million contract for them to operate the virtual school.
Okay.
So again, that's what I do when I look through this real quick. My staff does this before you get the report. The next page, page 3 in your packet, this more ties to what your budget report looks like. Remember that the first few pages of the budget report, where we give you the exact same information that we gave to you on page 2, which is the first column gives you the fiscal year through October, prior year, because again, we're going to compare where we were last year, where we are this year. The thing I do differently on this particular report is I go to the amended budget, so that's why your budget's higher. The amended budget will include the carryover purchase orders, excuse me, it's easy for me to say, the carryover purchase orders, as well as the categoricals. Thank you, categoricals. So those have already been carried over, and that's why your budget's now amended, so that you can expend the categoricals. Now, then we go to the actual through October, percentage, and the change. So those are still the same columns that we used in the prior. Like I said, the only thing I did differently is starting with this report and the next report, I used the amended budget, just that you get a point of comparison. The next page, which is page 4 in your report, I like this because it gives me the brief, how we're doing on every line item. So the salaries, which we have a budget, amended budget of 36 million, we've spent 9.8, so we've spent 26% of the budget, 11.1% more than the prior year, and again, we already addressed why that is. So each one of these 3 pages that we've addressed so far, they have a different, everybody has a different way they want to see numbers. Those 3 pages pretty much pick up what everybody's looking for. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're at page 5 now, right? Page
Yes,
5, okay. Then we start, sorry, I didn't have these stapled, so now they're falling apart on me. Let's see, there it is. The next page, I think yours is in, I did the first set, the general fund, I did it in color, then I started going to black and white. That is just so that you would think it would be easier for me, but it's not. So then I do the same thing, just the fund balance page for the food services and for the federal funds. So that's what those next 2 pages are. I do not prepare the detailed reports that I do for the general fund, for the food services, or the federal funds, but because the goal simply per your policy, for policy 6235 is just to give you a summary of where we are with fund balance. The rest of it is just financial reporting. So does that kind of catch you up to, I know you need that, you just wanted to make sure that I do this.
Well, I appreciate that. It's not just that you knew it. I want to make sure that people that are out there that are watching the meetings that may not get to see this stuff regular, plus we do have a new board member and I don't know what he knows about it, so I just kind of would like to make sure that everybody's on the same page
Right.
and well
to
aware.
that end, I also welcome you at any time, or anyone at any time, to come talk about the reports, because it is interesting, and sometimes you may find that there's something that I'm not presenting that you do want.
So, and what I would like to add to that is, Ms. Riccardi so far has been very open and willing, and what I want to do, and we're going to start spending certain times together reviewing ourselves, and what my mission is going to be was to not leave data off, but to compact the data into what you need and what matters to you as a board member, and bring that to you so you can see that, rather than 36 pages of a long report that that it takes someone from, that specific field to understand anyway. And so we're going to our attempt's going to be to make it what matters, what's pertinent, what's important, and here's what you need to see. And then if you want to see more, then obviously we have it, and we can spend time diving into that as well. The other thing that I would like to say is that last week we, and I'll address this a little bit deeper in a moment, but we had a district leadership team meeting last week, and tomorrow we're having our principals meeting, and we're absolutely on a mission to find efficiencies in our district. And so as you look across the budget, you see that we're down already on the percentage spent, in quite a few of the areas, which is a good thing. And we want to utilize the valuable folks that we have that know where we can realize some true cost savings and take advantage of that. And that's absolutely necessary. We know we're going into what we think and are pretty sure is going to be some pretty tumultuous financial times. We know that we want to continue putting fuel in the buses and turning the lights on, and we want to be able to appreciate the humans that make all that happen. And so for that to happen, we've got to make sure we're doing everything in our power to trim every dollar from every spot possible. And so our folks are being tasked now with look for efficiencies within your small departments across this entire school district that can help us. So we're doing that actively. Awesome. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Carter.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we will go board member business by district. We'll start with Ms. Nelson, since she's over there on online participation. Did you have anything for us today, Ms. Nelson?
I really don't have anything tonight. Just miss you guys. Hopefully I'll see you next time.
We miss you too. Reverend Brown?
I have 2 things. The phone calls. I appreciate though that we can come and be much more informed than sometimes we're not. We appreciate that. And Mr. Superintendent, we get squared away, get settled in, but what is it that we as a board can do to help you settle in?
The last part of that was,
What can we do as a board
Oh, to settle in?
to help you do what you do?
I appreciate you asking that. That's a great question. At this point in time, I believe as long as we have a unified vision of where we're going as a district, and the board continues to support the things that I as a superintendent see and the changes that I see important for us to make, I'm not sure that there's a more powerful thing that you can do. There will be some boots on the ground activities that I think that is good for us to show our support for the teachers and the students at certain times. We'll make sure you're aware of those. They love to see us present. They love to see you present there as well. Outside of that, the first couple of weeks so far of my superintendency, my statement is, I was not elected to maintain status quo. I was elected to make a positive difference and impact in the school district. And so I'm making some changes, and there are some more changes getting ready to roll out with some humans that at this point in time, you've been very supportive, and I appreciate that. But these are changes that need to happen in order to put the leadership in place so that we can get better as a district. Not that I think we're bad as a district, but continual improvement, driving up student achievement has got to be the goal. And the changes that need to happen, I appreciate your support on. And that's a powerful statement that you said. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Sammerdine.
Thank you. So, look, 2 weeks ago, I went through the schools. I walked through every school, recognized all the features of the year. I was so impressed with the organization in the schools. Every student had a mask, there were sanitation stations all over, social distancing, and lots of active learning. So important. It made me think. The school board, we do the finances, but we also are a window to the schools that people see. So I was thinking that what we needed here on the board is time to recognize and celebrate activities from Hendry County schools. There's so many great things going on, but we don't always hear them. The school knows. Everybody's working harder than they've ever worked in their whole lives. My suggestion would be that every time we have a meeting, we have a short period of time for activity recognition. The principals, when you were in Clewiston, a principal would come in and for 10 minutes just talks about his school. He could bring in a guidance counselor, anybody he wanted to, and just give us a nice narrative about what's going on in his school that he's happy about. And I just think that would be so important on both sides, the elementary schools. You know, teachers and principals, they love to write about the schools. Let's give them a window of opportunity to do this. Also, Dr. Staley has a crew with her, school psychologists, mental health counselors. You know, maybe sometimes she could have them come in sometime and sort of give us a little overview of the services. They're very important services that they're providing for our children that we're here with the budget. I want everybody to know all the services that are available. In Voquiet, we have Mr. Lukenhaus, who's just getting his feet wet, got a new job. Maybe he can come in and talk about vocational training on both sides of the county. There's a lot of great things going on. And we need to hear about it a little more in a positive way. And that would be my suggestion, that we just block a period of time here at the board where we hear positive things about our schools. And that's what I would like.
Great way to kick off the meeting.
And that's what I have. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Sammerdine. Mr. Basquin.
Well,
Let me get the pen out.
we settle in. No, I just want to say that so far I've heard some positive things about our new superintendent, and I've heard a few not so positives, but that's going to happen.
Give me time. It'll be more positive.
You know, but I do want to say that I wish that we had a bigger pot of money to be able to pay all of our people. You guys are more so important than any of us are ever going to be sitting up here at the board. You know, without you guys out there doing what you do, there would be no need for us. So we just do appreciate that, and you are highly underpaid. If we had a bigger pot, you'd be overpaid. So thank you guys. That's it.
Awesome.
And then I have a couple of different things. The Hendry Public School Foundation has had some exciting projects coming, and we're gonna, at the next meeting, roll out one of our big projects and a check presentation. And also, we've had some, are challenging our schools this year to participate in applying for grants, and which, you know, creates revenue for those fun projects. And so I'm not gonna let the cat out of the bag yet. We have something coming up this week, but we definitely want to bring some of these successful grants up here and celebrate those, because we've got a school in the county who won a competitive grant, and one of only 5 in the state. So we're seeing a lot of great things through that, and building that partnership and then that foundation's capacity to serve the district is really starting to take off. And just wanted to thank everybody here for supporting that and that transition and that change to be allowed to do that. So very exciting things coming, and I can't wait for you guys to roll it all out for you. And I also asked the superintendent to talk to us tonight about the executive order that just came down from the Department of Education and Governor DeSantis about, and one of the major things in that order was addressing virtual learning in the second semester. And one of the things they said are, we have kids who are not doing well. If they're not doing well, we really need to essentially shake them down and get them back into brick and mortar if they're not performing well. And so I asked the superintendent to give us an idea, because we hear these non-specific, broad statements, and to drill down on Hendry County's data, how many kids, as far as our enrollment goes, what that's going to look like for funding, and as well as our kids who are potentially struggling, and what our plan is going forward for the second semester. You ready?
You ready for me to do that?
I'm ready for this.
So, if it's okay with board permission, I would like to start in a different spot and wind up there, because I've got a feeling that when we wind up there, it's going to be news that's going to be even more exciting than the CEA and HISPA ratifications, and people are going to throw books and stuff in the air. So I would like to start in a little bit different spot. And one of the things that I want to make sure that I do, y'all well know I've never been a superintendent, and so as I move into this role, the team around me has been unbelievable, very supportive, very professional, and more than willing to listen to my harebrained, nutty ideas and help me massage them into things that work, and then make some good changes along the way. So the professionals you see sitting in the room that work for us are second to none anywhere in this state, and I'm honored to be with them and honored to have them on our team. We have felt the need to shift a few folks around so that we can make sure that we have the correct team driving the bus and moving the bus in the direction that we want to do it. Last meeting, it was already in place, but I failed to do so. But I do want to recognize Mr. Kevin Lukenhaus. He's now the Director of Workforce Development and Career and Technical Education. Finally, we get a good one of those in there. The one we had before him was trash. So thank God we got someone in there now, finally. And as of today, one of the longest tenured principals in this county, I think, if I'm not mistaken, right? Mr. Roberto Sanchez. I have now tapped him to be the Secondary Director of Education. And so he will start that role officially on Monday. Mr. Sanchez brings an enormous amount of principal experience. Now, this was one of the positions that y'all approved at the last board meeting. And now this is going to give us the ability to have a second principal on campuses with principals, helping make decisions, helping looking at data, helping make direct impact with teachers, with training, with professional development, and being a whole new set of eyes in the direction of our schools. And so I'm super excited about how that's going to drive our student achievement up and through the roof, and as well as everything that goes along with it. Couldn't think of another professional besides Mr. Roberto Sanchez that we want at the helm and making that happen. As of today also, it's official that Mr. John Klinger is the principal at LaBelle Middle School. And we are actively interviewing and intend, hopefully, if all goes well, by the end of the week, we will have a principal for Lavelle High School as well. So there's a lot of moving parts, and I want to say I'm very appreciative, again, to the board for the latitude to be able to do that, and to the team around me that's putting the key people in key places that's going to really enhance what we're doing here in Hendry County. So, having said that, I don't think I left anything out at this point in time. And so what we did, if y'all just want to kind of take from me, pass it down, we were able to put together some information that we would like to share with you. You need one, correct? This is a little bit different. I'm not sure if you have one. You get the final one. So what we did, Dr. Egley's and Ms. Weiss keep a great count on where we are with our schools in attendance, and the top row is the actual number of students that are attending classes, and you can see that it's broken down by each individual school. The second row represents the number of students that are doing the virtual learning. So the first number, for those of you that do not have it, in Hendry County Schools today, attending schools, we have 5,369 students attending. And in virtual learning, we have 1,762, for a total of 7,143 students. So that's a portion of what I was asked to put together. The next column is the 2019 data, and if you look at the 2019 data, obviously this time last year to date ago, we were not strapped with COVID, but it also goes through and compares all of the data where we were at this time last year compared to where we are this year. And even much to our surprise, the difference is we're about 172 humans in classrooms or virtual more than where we were this time last year. So
are we one of those growth ones?
we are one of those growth ones at this point in time. So for whatever reason, for however it happened, I think it's because of the great leadership and the board and the teachers and everyone in place. Let's go with that. But for whatever reason, that's where we are today.
So as a growth district, we're going to be rewarded, right?
That they said that the growth districts would be rewarded. Now, you're talking 172, and bear in mind that it'll be on the end number. This is where we are today. You know, as we go through the spring, this change. Matter of fact, it changes daily. You know, we have students come daily, leave daily, and so the number will fluctuate. To what degree, we're not sure yet. And so the reason I wanted to start there was because it ties into the Executive Order 007 that came out last week. And what the intent of the executive order that we received was because they know that the distance learning is by far very, very low in effectiveness with the education of our students. It is that way statewide, it's that way nationwide. We're not unique. It's not that we're not doing our jobs. It's that it's not an effective model for a portion of our students that are staying home. So the executive order requires us to reach out to those students and say to the parents, your student, your child is not passing. Your child is, matter of fact, failing either a little bit or all the way. And then it requires us to get their consent that, look, you have two options. You need to bring your child back to this school so that we can address these deficiencies and get them back on track, or you've got a sign here saying, I realize they're failing, but they're staying home with me anyway. And right now, we've just kind of gotten started, but we have parents that are kind of in both camps. We got some that are saying, oh, great, yep, we're going to be back. We've got some that are signing it and saying, I realize they're failing, but my child's staying home. So that's where we are with that. Now, also, we have to send in our spring intentions of how we're going to run our school and what we intend to do. And this gets to be where I'm going to bring up a proposal that's going to be slightly different. Folks, for those of us that are intertwined with the teachers on a daily basis, our teachers and the staff at the schools are absolutely dying. Managing the synchronous learning is taking an absolute toll on our staff. It is causing enormous amounts of stress, enormous amounts of anguish, and at the end of the day, the students are still getting very little out of it. So, at this point in time, what I would like to do is propose that we're going to have option one, which is going to be brick and mortar. And option one is where they show up traditionally, whatever means they get to school, and they go to school, and as they have traditionally. Option two, we're going to not do the distance learning starting in January through our teachers and staff. We have the opportunity, however, the executive order, I will say, did require that we have a distance learning option. So let me make sure that that's clear. So we have to have brick and mortar as well as a distance learning option for the students to participate in. As we look at, not that I'm a big fan of copying anyone around us, but you know, there's great knowledge and wisdom in numbers. And so at this point in time, Okeechobee, Highlands, and Charlotte County are all using a distance learning model where they basically use an online platform that students are registered in. And if you're in 8th grade English, we're going to put you in 8th grade English. If you're in science, physical science, we're going to put you in physical science. If you're in Agri-Technology 1, we're going to enroll you in Agri-Technology 1 program. We are looking at the program right now, Edmentum. And Edmentum offers actually more class options than what we're able to offer through Hendry County Schools. It's going to require us to have a teacher at a site that would manage the Edmentum students, make sure they're registered, do the progress monitoring, provide what services we need to provide for said students, report the grades, be in contact with the students, with the parents. And what that's going to do is allow our teachers to focus on the students that are in class and not have to continue the arduous, unbelievable duty of monitoring those online students, preparing those lessons, following up those students, begging, beating, getting barring those students, pushing them into doing what needs to be done, and taking an enormous amount of time and stress. So,
Where does the FTE go?
so they're completely 100% Hendry County students. They're still our students. It's just a different platform is all.
They are still our students.
100%.
What is the cost for the service?
There is a cost for the service right now. We are looking at about $100 per student to do that. There is absolutely a cost there. Now, if you do the math on if we don't do this or if we encourage them to go to other online schools, we lose all of that. So by providing this, even though it's cost us $100, we're still recouping that plus.
So what if we, instead of doing the $100, doing this service, if we give them the option, we get the K-12 money through that program, why don't we send them to that? That's the second option where we're still getting some of that money and it's of no cost to the district. That is an option and a possibility, but I believe our numbers there is about 5%. Okay.
It's a very, very small percentage of the money that we get. And so it really is a cost savings to us. Even though we would be getting 5% by paying the $100, the amount that we get per FTE is still exponentially larger than what we get per K-12 student.
We don't get any FTE money off of that K-12 program?
Only 5%.
Only 5%.
And I'm not misrepresenting it, right? It's 5%, correct? Yeah, it's 5%. And so even though there's
So the
$100,
FTE money we would be getting would offset that $100 cost
and then some.
and then some.
Exactly. So that was one of the things that we looked at, and it's an exponentially larger financial benefit to us to offer this.
Who teaches on Edmentum?
So it's online, it's a 100% online platform, self-paced, where if you're in science class, the syllabus is there. Lesson 1 is identifying clouds. And then you do the reading, you do the pace yourself, and it's very similar to some of the online or homeschooling and things that go on now.
Is it similar to the Play-Doh program?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Is it the best case scenario? Absolutely not. We're trying to offer this as an option to those parents who are saying, I am not putting my students back in those schools because of the safety fears that they have. So our encouragement, as we reach out to the parents, we were trying to encourage them that school is the best option. You need to be in school. But for those that are just digging their heels in and not having it, this is the direction that we're going to go.
So if you have kids in admin and they run into trouble, where do they go?
So there is a site-based person, and so each school will have a site-based person. And we did kind of a quick little mathematical exercise just before the meeting, and we've got about 13 teachers who have doctor's notes, who do not need to be in a school. It's almost perfect for the amount of schools that we have. And so we have the personnel that were already on staff and that we don't want to subject them to any illness because of preconditioned existence. And so it works out almost perfect where we have a teacher that will be doing the registration, that will be doing the monitoring, that will be doing the contact. Hey, Ms. Busey, your son's not, he's falling behind. You need to make sure you follow up with that.
So the teachers at that point wouldn't necessarily be teaching, they would be overseeing.
That's correct. They're more of a program manager and a student management system. All of the teaching is a complete online platform. That's right.
Now, can they intervene at that point, at any point in there, if they don't feel that the program is doing what they feel should be doing?
The parent or
The teacher.
Yeah, right. So the teachers that we would have on
They don't like
staff.
what they're seeing.
Exactly.
Can they interject in there?
Exactly. So if we notice a student not engaging, which is the problem now, quite frankly, is the students, they've got everything in front of them they need, but they're not engaging in the process whatsoever.
Right.
Okay? And so we will have a teacher that's going to watch, monitor, and then again with the, really the Rick and mortar's the best place.
How many students do we have approximately that you think will possibly take this route?
Don't have a crystal ball, but if you'll notice in the second column, we have 1,762 students that are doing the distance learning now,
Right.
and 1,200 of those are in the secondary system. And let me add to that. Right now, we're talking about just on the secondary side, just from middle school up, not elementary at this point in time. Our elementary schools have done a phenomenal job at being able to shuffle the students and shuffle the teachers, where they have teachers that are dedicated. So I'm not saying we won't move to it elementary, but I'm saying today we think we're solid in elementary, unless we get convinced otherwise, which could happen. On the secondary level is really where we're focusing this at. So there's 1,200 secondary students, approximately, that'll all compete exactly the fire is supposed to. I don't have a crystal ball to say, this is the number that would take advantage of it versus the one that are coming back. We'll have a clearer picture of that once each individual school site has made contact with those parents and has very pointed conversations about where they want to be.
So we haven't had those conversations.
They're in process every day as we speak. That's right. Yes, sir.
That was what I was wondering is,
Right.
Have we had all those conversations with everybody?
Have not.
An idea of what we might do.
We're doing them now. And like I said, it's kind of a mixed bag. So I have no data right now to tell you other than, as I asked principals are saying, some are saying, yep, they're coming back, and some are saying, nope, they're not coming back. But I don't have any numerical data to look at.
We'll start this in January.
January. We want to work hard, we want to work fast, and what we want to do is we want to add another layer of support to the teachers, where we're able to say, you're able to focus on your students in your class, and we're going to allow those students to choose to work from home to work in this program.
So how are we going to make this contract happen?
We actually already have a contract in place, because we started the contract in, was it August, Mr. Travis?
Yes, sir.
So the contract's actually in place, and what happens is we order a license. So said student comes and wants to engage, we assign a license to that student. So all we have to do is manipulate the number of licenses that we want, the contract's there. It's already done, it's already in place, and we already have some licenses as we speak.
And Charlotte and Okeechobee counties are both using this now?
Well, they are using this platform. Now, there are other programs besides Edmentum that are out there. Some of them are using Edmentum, but Okeechobee, Highlands, and Charlotte are using this exact model that we're discussing. All of them agree that continuing to ask our teachers to do the online learning has got to stop. It is too much. We've got to be able to relieve them, and that's what the whole goal here is.
When I walked through the schools that I did, I looked at that and I said, these kids are safer here than they are at Walmart.
Yeah.
Because we're mandating the social distancing, the safety, the cleaning of the hands. It's much better. I'm surprised at how well that was being done in the schools.
That's right. Great point.
Madam
Any other
Chair.
questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say that I could not agree more with Mr. Swindle. Thank you. I think this is fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you.
On the, Madam Chair. On the evaluating the students, the grades, going to be assigned to school, will their grades directly affect school grades?
So when they are assigned a said class in the admin program, it starts off day one, and it's reading, it's quizzes, it's tests, it's activities that the students go through and do on the online platform, and they're graded as they do it. And so the grade is kept real time and is on a permanent log there. So they're earning a grade.
Their grades will add to the students that are attending brick and mortar.
Right, so whatever grades they earn, they will get a report card from us showing exactly that. That is correct. Is that what your question? I want to make sure I answered your question.
Yeah, I want to
Okay.
make sure that the students that are not going to the brick and mortar,
Right.
their grades going to be added to the students that are going to brick and mortar and get the grade for that school.
Yeah,
Oh, right.
accountability.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the students still have to go through this testing. So whatever testing has to happen, the schools have to make sure they capture their students and make that happen. And we're doing that now. And so as we're doing the progress monitoring testing, they're having those parents bring those kids in, and they're like Mr. Simmerdike said, they're using portions of the lunchroom, portions of the library, and they're spacing those students out and testing them. So we're doing that as we speak anyway. That portion's happening.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Does anybody have any further questions? Does this give anyone heartburn if we move forward with this?
To take action on it now?
We intend to have this happen in January.
So you're making a recommendation?
Well,
I
I
wish this conversation would have happened prior to, I thought we were going to get some data conversation. I didn't know that there was going to be a recommendation on that, like right now, without a lot of conversation.
Yeah.
That hasn't come up in specific.
and the reason why, and let me explain the reason why. The executive order from the governor says, thou shalt continue the online learning. And so our team looked at that, and we all interpreted it as, well, we have to continue down option number 2. Today, at about 3 o'clock, we learned that that was not the case, and that we have the option to do different. I didn't want this board meeting to get by because we have to present to the state by
The 15th.
the 15th. We have to give them our plan. And so I want to make sure, I do apologize for the short notice, I hate throwing that on you, but this is unfolding in real time.
Madam Chair, a question. If we don't take action now, by the time we have the next board meeting, the program should have already been in action. So it's sort of an issue of time, I guess.
It is, and I don't think that we're absolutely strapped one way or the other, so if we went down the Ed Benham route and it didn't work, or if it changed, or COVID goes away, or whatever, it's still our organization to run and change and amend as needed and necessary. So I don't think that taking action or allowing us to go down this is jeopardizing anything at this point in time. We see it, our team sees it as an absolute enhancement to what we're doing and an absolute layer of support for our teachers. We struggle to find any reason why we should not do it. And that's why I want to discuss it tonight, because if y'all have them, please let us know what they are.
On reservation, I will ask the question, students that do not choose to come back, even if they didn't choose to come back, they still deserve the same type of education that those that went back. So
Right.
I'm getting a feeling that if they are failed, they're gonna be told they're gonna fail, and want somebody to make sure they're checking on them to
Right.
make sure they're doing their lesson.
That's right.
But a lot of parents are not gonna do it. We already crossed that bridge.
That's what we're dealing with now,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
How we're gonna help them be
That's right.
successful.
Absolutely, that's a good point, and that's why, like I said, we have, I think, 13 teachers that are going to be on doctor's note, staying home and not coming back to school themselves.
Right.
So that the number works out perfectly, to where we will be able to utilize those folks to be able to, in some massaged way, to make sure that they are the ones, but we will have, because it's one of the requirements, that we have a school-based person at each school that monitors those students, enrolls those students, checks on the progress, follows up, and does everything that you're concerned with.
We got 13 teachers and how many students again?
1,700, was really 1,200 or so on the secondary side, We don't think that it'll be 1,200. We think that a said portion of them will come back present, but we just don't have a crystal ball to know what that number is today.
Madam Chair, I guess my other concern is the quality of the program. How do you measure that? There's been programs that we've used over time,
Right.
and I've not been that impressed with the academic standard of that program.
Right.
And I don't know about this program yet. We have to make a decision
Sure.
based on, I mean, if the other counties are using this and they've had experience with it and they're saying, yeah, this is good. I just don't want to put these children in a program that is academic.
Right. And I believe this is one that we have used, and the team can help correct me on this if I'm wrong, but this is one that we have used previously, and that is in motion. We've used it for several years in some of the other programs as well, haven't we?
Yeah,
So this is-
it's a company that sells different academic pieces. So we've been using them for like Study Island and different things.
Right.
Credit recovery,
I'm
Yes.
sorry?
like credit recovery.
Yes.
What about students with IEPs or 504s?
We'll have to sit down and really look at and decide, because we have to provide them accommodations regardless of how they are learning.
Right. Nothing relieves us of providing those services if they're student in Hendry County.
Right. Just writing down notes myself on that.
Yep.
So if we get into this thing in February, because we've already submitted the plan, this is the plan, in February, we figure out, this isn't working, what do we do?
Well, just like now, we're pivoting and we're going down what we perceive to be a better road. And I don't believe, that's what I mentioned earlier, I don't think that, I believe that we have the opportunity as a school district to continue to make the best decisions for our students. Let's hope and pray coronavirus goes away, we don't need this at all in February. I mean, that would be a wonderful problem to cross, right?
Right.
So we have the ability to make those decisions and do what we feel fit and best fit for our students.
So in February, we have the ability to change and send a new plan to the state and say, okay, we are doing away with this.
I don't know that they're requiring a new plan now so that they see we have a plan going into the spring. I don't know that we have to have a new plan, whether we can amend our plan and continue to work. And a good example of that was, the executive order did say, you have to continue providing your synchronous learning.
Right.
But the UE was quite flexible and said, look, okay, because they got hammered from every district, I believe, across the state that said, this is a train wreck, a disastrous thing going on. You're making us do. So the DOE, as of today, was like, okay. All right. Do what works. Do what you've got to do to make it happen. So I don't believe that that's going to be any different. I believe that that's indicative of the Department of Education wanting to work with us and wanting to do what's right. Is it going to happen? Most likely, because we're in uncharted territory. We're in uncharted waters. We don't know what this is going to look like in 2 months from now or 3 months from now, what position we're going to be in.
I just think I don't want to lock us into any kind of contract with them, and in February, like I said, we come up in February, and we're like, in February, this is a bigger disaster than what we
Right.
had, and now we still have to keep these kids enrolled in here. Can we move them
Yeah.
to something different?
That's right. I don't
And
think
still at a cost to the district.
That's right.
That's my concern.
So-
Make sure we're not doing that.
so. Nothing prevents us. As a matter of fact, part of the executive order that's come out as of recently, and that allows us and requires us to allow the students free flowing opportunity, where if they're online learning at home, or asynchronous learning, or at minimum, whatever it is, if they want to come back to brick and mortar, we're going to love every one of them and welcome them in the doors. That's what's going to happen. And again, we're already in a contract, mind you, we're not, so it's not like we're locked in anything that's by licenses. And so X amount of license will be purchased. Now, I will say that Dr. Mundy has got SAI funds so this is not going to be a general revenue purchase that we have to come up with extra money or anything like that. So it's money that's really allocated for this type of program to start with, that we won't have to find money for.
And the licensing for that, we pay extra licensing per child, for a
Yeah.
lot of children.
It's per student. It's going to be a per student basis. And so
And now, how long is that license for?
it should be a school year.
For one physical
That's
school?
correct, one school year. And so we know we're coming in second semester. We're going to do our best to see if we can't shake them down a little bit and say, well, have a school year, well, we gotta have a price of that, but
Yeah.
whether we'll have any success at that is to be determined.
But that's still not coming out of general fund, that's coming out.
Either way.
Federal funds.
That's correct. Yes, sir, that is correct, either way. We still feel the need to do every job we can to be as frugal as possible and realize the savings.
Yeah, we don't need to squander regardless of what fund it's coming.
That's right.
How long have these, we sat at that same meeting the other night at Heartland and listened to them talk about the data cluster in the Heartland and how that goal was to change that data cluster and to move that data in a positive direction. And so when you're telling me that the people who are already doing this now are already in this challenging data cluster as it is, I hope you see where I'm going.
Yep.
Well, you've heard some of my
Yep.
comments about that.
Yep.
How long have they been doing it and what kind of outcomes are they getting? Where are the success there? Because our kids are not going to be sacrificial lambs.
Right. And
Do you know how long that these Heartland folks have been using this?
the program itself?
Yeah, the platform and the program?
I do know, I think for a pretty good period of time. And again, we've been using it for a fairly good amount of time ourselves.
All right,
And,
so,
and you're concerned of those students who would engage it and not be successful, right? And that's a very legitimate concern. The problem is we've got an enormous amount of students now who are not engaging, and that's really the ones that we're talking about. And that's the ones that we can't get to come back to school. We can't get them to engage, and we're concerned about them. So what are we going to do to get them engaged? Is that where you're going?
well, what success are these other districts having with this? Is it changing the outcome for the kids? Are the kids being more successful? Are they being more engaged? Or is this something for us to write along?
Yeah.
Because that's my concern. If what you're seeing on the surface of these kids is of behavior, and the behavior is, not logging on, or what's behind it?
Right.
And I just don't want to write them off because I know there's so many stories behind them, why they're not doing it, or, it does to me, and of course, this is a knee-jerk reaction. I've already told you about all the knee-jerk reactions. Well, they usually are like, I need to work on it, I need to Google it, and I need to reach out and say, how's that working for you over here? And I like to do my due diligence on things.
Yeah.
And so, just hearing it now and in this manner without any real numbers or data, and this is how it's rolling out here, and they've been successful in getting these kids here, that's a concern.
Yeah.
So.
And I do apologize for the short notice, but again, it's unfolding in real time in front of all. So that was not something that we didn't keep on more purpose with the share.
So what if,
I'm sorry, I just want to step in for just a second because part of the plan that the state is requiring is that outreach and the truancy part of us getting to these kids somehow to make sure that they're logging in, to make sure, so we have to provide the state with our plan for that outreach as well. So that will all be part of this plan. So part of it is, and we've already started, we're going to houses, we're walking in.
And most of our schools, I say, has been doing that anyway.
Yes, they
I've
have.
talked to principals
They
that
have.
spent their day knocking on doors and saying, you're not logged in at all. And trying to talk to the parents and the students and get them engaged. So that piece has been happening. It's not that it has not.
What is the mechanism? Because knee-jerk reaction is worst-case scenario. What is the mechanism to pull it back? If, like Mr. Bassel was saying, a specific mechanism when we get in there.
So pull back the programming.
Or if it's not working, if we're not getting any.
So again, the goal is students learn best in a classroom, right? There's no doubt about that. The ones that we think we're going to be not successful with are going to be the same ones that are going to be not successful if we stay on asynchronous learning and the teachers continue to beat their heads against the wall. Those are the ones that we're really trying to rescue here, are those teachers. Now, having said that, I
Not
realize.
rescue kids.
I'm sorry?
We got the rest of the kids.
I get that, and that is not gonna change. Because if it's the same child doing it in the teacher's class, it's gonna be the same one there. We still have to keep doing everything we can do. The point is, at this point in time, what we're trying to do is to add a layer of help to those teachers that have had enough, that can't take it anymore, that have to do something different with regards to that, or, you know, they're just completely overwhelmed and underwater trying to do it. That part is really the benefit here. Those children, you're totally point well taken. We need to exercise every avenue possible to get them engaged, to get their parents educated, to get them what they need, and do that, no matter if we stay on asynchronous learning or we switch to admin or any other platform that we use. That's going to be an issue that we have to fight no matter which direction we take it.
So what happens if we do not have a plan submitted by the 15th?
It's typically not good. It's a DOE requirement. I'm sure it'd be really shaking their finger at us and raising their voice.
Right, yeah. I mean,
Well,
I've been scolded before.
In the past, they have threatened funding.
Yeah, right.
Pardon?
In the past, they have threatened funding when we didn't do it, if we weren't gonna do it, if we didn't do it on time. I don't know that anybody's broached that question with them this
Yeah.
time, but funding has been attached to the plans.
Yeah.
I mean, and the reason I'm asking is if it kind of sounds to me like with the board that there would be a higher comfort level with a little bit more information. And so if we delayed it until our next board meeting, how big of a thump is the state going to give us?
I'm scared of the thumps. I don't want the thumps in this year. I would rather them not bristle up with us. I would much rather move forward with said plan and then have to pivot on the plan as needed.
There was a stipulation or something that we could do an extra session to go over it if we needed to before the 15th, I think. And I may not be saying that appropriately, but I know that was in there.
Another
So
meeting?
we could,
Yeah.
to
It's
discuss
all
just
emergency
this.
meeting,
But
it could be
before the
online.
15th.
We could.
But
If that-
it will still have to be before the 15th.
That's correct. Our plan has to be to them at that point in time.
So,
And I'm not sure, and having said that, I mean, whatever level of comfort that you want to have, we're willing to make happen. If y'all want to spend the days coming, and looking one-on-one, looking at the program itself, or further vetting the plan with us, we're glad to do that. If that brings the comfort level we need.
so how much extra information do you think you guys could have us if we delayed it until, the 12th or whatever?
We are happy to get any information you want. You tell us what you would like to have, and I'll get it, and our team will get it provided.
Madam Chair, they give you more time to do due diligence in checking that out. Would you feel more comfortable?
I want to work in the parameters of what the board's comfortable with, like if you guys will be willing to get together, just a timeline to, I don't want it to be done. 9 times out of 10, once I've had a chance to do my research on it, I feel a lot better. But like having it dropped on me right now and not being able to look at anything and being able to put the personal seal of approval on, I'm not comfortable.
Well, I share your concerns. I'm familiar with some of these programs that have been run. I didn't think they were of a high academic standard. I understand the conflict that we're in with the timeline. We have to make a decision. But I feel more comfortable if somebody was saying, that's a pretty good program. It's one of the best out there that's being offered. I feel much more comfortable with moving on. But I don't have any information like that.
And I feel the same way, and I would just like to hear from Highlands or somebody else, this is how many we got in, and this is how we're doing it, and it's working for us. And,
So I question for the gentleman. What was the governor's reason for doing it again?
So the governor's reason for doing it is the fact that they are very well aware that the asynchronous learning and the synchronous learning that we're doing at home is an absolute catastrophic failure. That by and large, that is not working. There is a sector of kids that thrive on it and doing just fine, but the larger portion of students are not engaging it, not taking advantage of it, not logging in, or they're logging in and turning the camera off on the computer and then going all day long and doing something else. And so our students are getting very much left behind educationally. And so this is the attempt of the governor to say, you've got to reach out to those students and you've got to make sure you make contact with them and encourage them back to school. And that's what we're doing. But what are we going to do for those students who are not coming back to school? We do need to make sure we vet that and do everything that we can. Along those same lines, our concerns are those teachers who are in those classrooms who are spending exponential amount of hours trying to drag those students prepare, grading stuff at 12 o'clock at night that's coming in online and stuff like that. That's the whole purpose of this discussion. That's what we have to help. Regardless of how we do it. If you want to use a different program, it doesn't matter to me. I want to help those teachers in the classrooms be able to function at somewhat of a different level without having this on their back. That's the whole purpose of what we're talking about.
I understand the teachers, because matter of fact, I personally know when they're struggling, trying to get everything done. It's a horrible situation.
It's horrible. That's right.
The only thing I would like to see is we can just, students, I mean, life is just life. Some students not gonna get the support at home. That's done.
Yeah.
And so, and for us to make decisions, we got to make the best decision we can to help that kid who don't have the capital. You know, and I don't know if just putting them out there saying, y'all gotta do it. With the 13, what, 1,700 you said? 1,700?
The total number is 1,762. About 1,200 or so are secondary, which are the ones that we're focusing on.
So each teacher will be assigned with the number.
Well, no, sure, it'll be a site-based. So Wilson High School will have one, Wilson Middle School will have it like that. Because there has to be a site-based for each school.
So the site-based teacher at Wilson High School, tell me if I'm not reading this correctly, would have 360 students to be in their realm. But the one at, let's see, West Side, 129.
That's correct. That's correct. And again, the site-based is basically a coordinator, making sure students are in the right grade level, got the classes assigned, checks the scores, checks the progress. It's not like they're not teaching the classes.
Okay, so would Edmonton be for primary or for secondary and elementary, or just secondary?
For right now, we're looking at just secondary. I'm not saying that we won't look at it at elementary, but we feel like today we're solid on elementary unless that changes.
And so now, on that secondary level, that student will still have separate classes. Who's assigning them what classes?
Again, we have a site-based coordinator at each school. And if said student comes in, John Bascom comes in because he's scared, that COVID's gonna, be infected at school. And so we look at your schedule and say you're in ninth grade, you need science, you need math, and that teacher then is going to say, I got John Bascom, assign on those classes, and give you your credentials to log in. And when you log in, you're going to have your classes that you click on and go to, and you do your self-guided lessons day by day, class by class.
And so they won't have an actual person on the screen in front of them?
That's right. It's
at that point?
That's right.
Like video delivery or something?
There's videos, 100% video delivery. That's right. Like Plato or Apex, a lot of what we use in workforce development for GED and things like that. Multiple types of platforms do that now.
So student, that one teacher would not be teaching all the subjects. You have to be monitoring that student on his own.
That's exactly right.
So if you got a problem in science, you got to go to the computer and figure it out.
That's correct. That's correct.
It's kind of tough learning, isn't it?
Look, everybody learns in different ways and different paces, different styles.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's what they're doing now.
Right.
But they're just supposed to log in at a certain time and listen to the teacher and follow along those lessons. It's not a lot different, because they're on the computer, they're trying to follow. The problem is, again, we're talking with the ones who won't engage that.
Right.
And so, it's a mixed bag. Oftentimes, those students thrive better, by being able to work at their own pace and get up at midnight or stay up till midnight, because that's what they do anyway, and they engage some of the lessons. So I'm sure it's not going to be a silver bullet. It's not going to be a perfect model. But again, taking the weight off of our teachers and then providing a resource for the students to learn is the goal here. And I think that this is a good model. I believe this to be a great program to do that with, and our opportunity to make it happen.
I know it's tough on the teachers to try to do virtual and in class all at the same time and all that. That's got to be rough on them, I'm sure.
It's killing. We've got teachers that are at their wits' end, that are borderline done, you know, and we've got to do something for that. And that, again, that's the purpose of this discussion. Not whether or not Adminum is the best program or not.
Right.
That can change. I don't care about that necessarily. We've got to do this for our teachers so that they can get back to teaching and learning with those students that are showing up in class.
So at LaBelle High School, you have 431 students in the high school alone. And you're going to have one teacher support 400?
Well, again, we don't believe that the number will be 431. We believe that some of those students will be back in January. So again, we don't know what that number will be.
If they also opt out and go to the state school?
They can, but we don't want to say that out loud.
Well, they go to the K-12.
They can.
That is an option.
That is an option, but we're not going to promote that because we get 100% of their FTE when they come to our brick and mortar or they come to our Hendry Online Learning Academy. It's HOLA for short. Or HOLA.
It's first.
Yeah.
Always.
That's right. That's right.
And,
Mr. Swindle?
Yes, sir.
If I may also just point out a very important real fact about the internet connection that we have in Hendry County and with the synchronous learning environment. Of the 1,700 students that we have currently in distance learning, we provide 700 of those students with hotspots. Those hotspots, whenever you're talking about live streaming video quality footage, they only provide 4 hours of streaming quality footage.
A month.
A month.
Right.
So then they provide an unlimited amount of access to normal internet connection, which is what would facilitate in the admin quality program. So they would be able to get online, complete those assignments without any internet interruption. So whenever you look at those facts, it really can change your perspective and how we move forward.
My recommendation doesn't change. I still recommend that we move forward with this. I recommend that we move forward. And at this point in time, I still recommend we move forward with Admin. If y'all want to engage and help us look, if y'all want to have buy-in on what program we use, I'm more than willing to do that. And I want that to happen. I don't believe that we should deviate from the plan of removing the asynchronous learning from the teachers starting in January.
does synchronous education, does the students who are online take away from the educational experience of the students in the home?
You know, I'm not saying that I can answer that. Maybe some, maybe not. That's not really the point of what we're doing here. That's not the gist of what that's not the crux of why we're looking at something different. I'll put it to you that way. The point is, we got students not engaged, and we got teachers that can no longer bear the burden of what we're asking them to do.
If you're telling me we can pivot this plan in February if it's a big flop, then I agree we've got to try something. I'm not a fan of a rash decision like this without a lot of information. But we've got to do something because if we are, and I know we are, stressing our teachers to the max, to the breaking point with what we're doing right now, and it's not working, and that's going to be extremely frustrating. And so,
and really,
we got to try something.
The only rash decision is at minimum, not in my mind. And that one we don't have to decide on. If y'all want to take one time and look at that, absolutely. But
So how does like teacher accountability work on this? So we have Miss Smith here who's got the brick and mortar students, and then we have Miss Jones here who is overseeing this platform. Well, we already know that Miss Jones's class is already more likely to be disengaged. And the way I'm hearing it is we're walking into this fully understanding that they're dealing with a different situation and one that would have a predictable outcome of less student achievement. So how does that go back on the teacher? Is the person in charge of all 431 of those kids at LaBelle High School, is that reflected on?
So you mean with how their performance?
Of their performance,
Yeah.
or?
So even the students that are in class this year, the way we evaluate, the way we, come on over, right?
It's cold out there.
Oh, it's getting closer to good reaches.
I like it.
So the entire model of how we evaluate teachers is different this year. Although we have a model, the model itself is not different, but how we hold those teachers with the same records of accountability, we know that this year is not the year that we're going after teachers for those performances. It's hard to hold a teacher accountable for a student now that's at home, that's absolutely not engaging. And so to hold a teacher accountable for that and to try to go after them or not support them is absolutely ludicrous, and we're not doing that anyway, if that helps you understand. I think that this will help the teachers and help their accountability by providing the ones that are in class, to teach students that are in class and to focus on those that are in class, and the ones that are not, then we'll deal with that on a separate layer.
But the teacher in charge of these classes aren't even really delivering the instruction.
That's right. They're not particularly even teaching, that's right. They're
Yeah,
more
they're like
of
was it like a manager?
they're a class
evaluation?
manager, so good with their class manager at that point, if you will. That's correct, that's correct.
And like, how do you evaluate that? Like, how well you get them to sign in, or like, that's just...
It's an engagement issue. And so it becomes a 100% engagement issue. Are the students engaged? Are they doing it? And then we use every means necessary to promote that. And whether it's dealing with parents, whether it's taking the supports there that they need, whether that said teacher that or the coordinator is calling that student a parent saying you've done 5% and we're 90% through the school year. So, but it's what we're dealing with now. It is not a different conversation than what we're having about this exact students today.
Madam Chair, as far as the evaluation, I would think that the teachers, the core teachers or the teachers who are in brick and mortar are still going to be tied to those students that are still doing that minute. Is that correct?
I don't think so. No.
Not my impression.
No, because we signed an MOU for this year.
That's a good question about evaluation.
We've signed an MOU this year, so you point.
That's right, right. So this is not the year, for the evaluation is kind of mute anyway for right now, all right? This is not the year to worry about, you know, even the ones in brick and mortar. However,
True.
it gives us a little more, we can add layers of help to the ones that are brick and mortar that need it, but we're not going after them either with regards to poor performance, especially with the asynchronous learning that we can't hold a teacher accountable for.
That's a contract rewrite.
So again, my recommendation to the board, you know, still stands that I still intend to submit the plan. I want to make sure that you are comfortable with it. I'll be happy to meet again. We'll meet again next week. I'll provide any layers of information you want. We can set, Mr. Adams can set you up if you would like, where you engage Ed Minimum yourself, if you would like to see that. We can change Ed
Yeah, I'm starting
Minimum.
to see this, because right now, I mean, if you made that recommendation and forced a motion, I don't feel like I could support it just based off of all I have in front of me is dialogue and enrollment numbers. And I need to see it, I need to feel it.
Are you caught up on Ed Minimum itself, or the plan of removing Ed Minimum and using it? Do you want to look at a different program, or do you have problems with us
No,
removing the
this
asynchronous?
is the recommendation, but it's a recommendation for 1,200 kids. And so this isn't something I don't think anybody on this dais is taking lightly.
Sure, should not. I'm not.
And, you know, just the manner in which I operate is show me your information. Let me see it in front of me, let me feel it, let me look at it, let me make some phone calls.
I table it, I make a motion, we table it for a week.
Well, listen, let me, and if that's the way you want to go, then absolutely, that's not a problem. But I just want to be clear, I want to make sure I understand correctly. You don't have a problem with us shifting with regard to away from the asynchronous learning to a said program. You just want to be comfortable with the program, is that correct?
I want to be comfortable with the program. I want to know it's the best thing for the kids sitting in the brick and the mortar. I want to know, and that it's also a good thing for these struggling students, because for some reason or another, they are, by, just showing through their behavior that there's some kind of struggle.
Right.
And I just need to know that
Okay.
we're
Fair
just
enough.
not right on. And I just want to make a couple of phone calls and say, how's that playing out for you here?
Would you like Mr. Adams to set y'all up each on Edna, so y'all can peruse that program yourself?
I would like it. I will.
I will.
I'll do it.
Okay. That would give
No
at least.
no high level
That
classes.
would, yeah, right.
Corporate.
Yeah. So that would help, bring that along the way. We can talk to, and we can do it. We'll get any information you would like. We'll gather that. If you would like to talk to your colleagues in those counties we mentioned and talk to them about it, then please do.
Okay, so what day do you want to swing back around and to take action? Because it could be. Mr. Harmon,
Yep.
can we still do a virtual meeting in like a week? Or is that?
Yeah, I think I was actually looking at your policy while you were talking about having sounds like a special meeting, and our policy only requires at least 2 days notice of the meeting. So if you were to announce today that you were going to have a special meeting for the sole purpose of this a week out from today, then you would be in compliance with your policy. We just need to make sure we get the notice published as quickly as we can.
And it can be virtual?
Yeah, I don't see any reason why you can't if you're doing virtual meetings because of COVID now, or at any point in time, like you have a board member now, Ms. Nelson, appearing virtually. If because of COVID and you can't get everything scheduled as quickly, and you need to address this obviously with the planned deadline of December 15th, I'm not aware of anything that would prohibit you from doing that.
Okay, awesome. December 15th, acceptable?
Well, don't we have to have the plan submitted by the 15th?
Yeah.
Yeah. 14th.
So we can't have a meeting and.
Yeah, do it all the same day. No good point, I'm sorry.
That night, so.
We can do it either, with Monday, or do we need to do it this week? We go about
I don't
that?
need a lot of time to work, I just need some time to work. And do my due diligence on that. I don't know what your timelines are looking like.
I'm gonna go meet with Mr. Adams tomorrow or the next day.
Madam Chair, does that give our team enough time to write the plan if it's due on the 15th?
I'm sorry, Ms. Nelson, can you repeat yourself?
Does that give our team enough time to write the plan if it's due on the 15th?
That's a good question. That's why I was asking a clarification question of, do we have a problem with the overarching design of moving away from the asynchronous learning and moving to an online platform? Because we can write the plan based on that.
Right.
Whether it's at minimum or not, that gets inserted there is a small edit that needs to be made, if at all.
Right.
So I believe that's why I was asking that question. If it said minimum that's hanging you up, but let's focus on that and let us write the plan accordingly. And I stand firm that we need to do that. This has to happen and as soon as possible. That part of it. At minimum, we can discuss all day.
I think that-
Madam Chair, I apologize for interrupting, but I do believe, if my memory serves me correctly, that Governor DeSantis required local government meetings to return to in-person meetings beginning November 1st. So you may still have to do I'm looking at it while we're conducting the meeting, to have an in-person segment of the meeting still. I believe his executive order in October said by November 1, we should return to in-person options, but I'm confirming that. I still think you can notice the meeting and you can announce it now. Whether or not it's in person or virtual, we obviously will make sure that that complies with the law. But as you know, things happen rapidly with the governor's office. I'm just looking to make sure that we could still do it virtually. But I do believe, if I recall, again, it required it as of November 1, but Just give me a moment to let you know.
Thank you for the clarification. We get to do Friday afternoon or Monday afternoon.
Friday afternoon at 4 p.m.
It'd have to be earlier than 4. Yeah.
That'd be earlier than 4. That's right, slap did, when I know my work day, that gives me,
Then Monday would be the only other time then. Monday the 14th,
at what time?
we're completely open. I can do it at any time that day. Wherever the board pleasure is.
At the regular time, 5:30.
Can do. Is that good for everyone? Location? For an in-person? Be close on LaBelle.
We close to. Finish the meeting that we're starting now.
Close to 5:30.
Okay.
Can you repeat the time on that, please?
I think she said what time?
What time?
5:30.
5:30.
That's December 15th. Did I hear that right?
On the 14th.
Wait, 14th.
Monday, December
Okay.
14th, 5:30.
Got it.
Is it Monday, 5:30?
Yep. Okay, is there any specific things y'all want me to be getting for you in the meanwhile? The deal, so that,
I'll have emails tonight as I'm sitting here.
okay, emails, we will set 2 of you up, on admin. Board Member Nelson, would you like to get a subscription to admin so you can look at that as well?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Do you want to assign in to Ed Minimum from Mr. Adams?
No, I'm good, I can get.
Okay, all right, so that, we'll make sure the 2 of you get it, and, y'all can be, perusing through that. If you have any other, if there's any
I would like to
questions.
meet with Mr. Adams personally.
Okay,
That's all right with Mr. Adams.
I would just like to make the suggestion that we schedule a meeting with the admin consultant so that you can ask questions, they can answer questions about the program, give you an overview of it, make comparisons.
can they be present on the 14th, Mr. Adams?
We can make that happen, yes.
All right, that'd be the perfect time, that way they're all together. Unless they have individual things they want to ask, they could reach out individually so we don't break any sunshine laws. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think John mentioned about the, being able to pivot. We put in something that we're going to evaluate this program and then come and let us know what, how successful it's being.
Sure.
And we can then decide we're going to either keep it or change it.
Absolutely.
All right, so we are scheduled a special meeting for Monday, December 14th at 5:30 here in the Closton Boardroom to continue this conversation. And is there any further board member comment? All right, with that, meeting is adjourned.